Sehubungan itu, kerajaan Malaysia akan terus berusaha untuk mencari jalan penyelesaian yang terbaik dalam menangani isu Rohingya,
Myanmar dan Bangladesh. Jelasnya lagi, kesemua tertuduh telah diusir pulang ke negara masing-masing.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afiqah binti Afendi, 2230725. So today I want to discuss about the right to work legally for refugees in Malaysia. So first, we have to know who are considered to be refugees in Malaysia and what is the issue or the background behind this issue. So let's go.
Immigrants who are in Malaysia are granted refugee status by the UN through the UNHCR office in Malaysia in accordance with the laws of Malaysia. According to UNHCR, the population of Malaysia is nearly 33 million, and of that, approximately 3 million are foreign nationals, and only 180,000 are refugees and asylum seekers. From that, 85% of the refugees are from Myanmar, and the rest of them are from other 50 countries. So the reason why the majority of refugees in Malaysia are from Myanmar, it's because of, according to UNHCR, there's over 15,000 people detained by police and military and over 2,000 were killed. And this is all are innocent civilians in Myanmar. And according to UNHCR, refugees and asylum seekers from Myanmar in neighboring countries are over 1 million people. This data has been collected as of June 30th, 2022. Thus, this has led to the current situations of refugees now in Malaysia, and that will be the conclusion of the background of the issue. So now we will look into further of this discussion.
And they are not just waiting for the charity, they are people with the skills, they are hardworking, and given a chance, they will give back to Malaysia.
First, we have to understand the effects of the lack of the right to work for all of these refugees. Firstly, economically, they will have unstable income and poverty. In terms of security, they will have the risk of exploitation, hazardous work, and lack of social protection. And lastly, in accordance for the socially, they will have limited access to health and welfare services.
It is thus the collective responsibility of the international community, including Malaysia, to seek realistic and sustainable solutions to the refugee crisis in the long term, in a manner that would safeguard their safety and dignity while ensuring the host country's sovereignty and security.
Thus, from that clip, many actions have been taken by the Malaysian government. For example, the discussion regarding the issue were extensively reviewed during the committee meeting number 9 of 2024, held on Tuesday on 11 June of 2024 under the auspices of the Ministry of Human Resources, Kesuma.
So now, with all the actions that has been taken by the government, we are going to make a diplomatic note. The question is, what type of diplomatic note? And what should we write on it? So, let's take a look.
To communicate with the High Commissioner of UNHCR, the most appropriate type of diplomatic note is a note verbal. This is the standard form of formal, polite, and official correspondence between governments and international organizations or their representative. So the reason why we use a note verbal is because of its formality, clarity, and acknowledgement. A note verbal is impersonal and written in the third person, maintaining diplomatic decorum. A note verbal also conveys the government's position, requests, or information in a respectful and professional tone, and often requires a response or acknowledgement aligning with the standard diplomatic protocol. So let's take a look on how I write my diplomatic note. So first thing first is I put the official logo of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOHD, followed by the reference of the note, the dates, and the recipient name, which is the head of United Nations UNHCR Ambassador Filippo Grandi, as well as the subject for this diplomatic note. For the introduction, I open with formal salutations to the UNHCR and establish the purpose of the note to address the legal work for the rights of refugees. Then, I begin with the first key point in my note, which is the current framework for refugee management in Malaysia. In this point, I describe Malaysia's humanitarian approach to manage the refugees despite not being the signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention. Next, I'll continue my discussion on the right to work for refugees temporarily. I explain about the national policy and the legal context as well as the current challenges. On this point, I highlighted the economic instability, exploitation, and social integration issues faced by the refugees, as well as the burden on Malaysia's resources. After highlighting the challenges faced by the refugees and the Malaysian governments, I began to propose solutions and explain the mechanism of the action that has been taken by the Malaysian government. For example, is the introduction of the Refugee Registration Document (DPP), the provision of temporary work rights in designated sectors, and skills training program. In addition, I also urged for UNHCR to collaborate and take part in being proactive in handling refugees in Malaysia. I emphasize areas for joint efforts such as improving refugee documentation, resettlement, and securing financial support. This shows the importance of diplomacy between the state and non-state actors, which is the Malaysian government and the UNHCR. Last but not least, I also give suggestions seeking for further improvement that can be made by both sides, which is the Malaysian government and UNHCR. One of my suggestions, which is refugee compliance with Malaysian law, are my personal opinion and not influenced by the government. In the suggestions, I carefully chose language that was diplomatic yet assertive, reflecting Malaysia's sovereign right to enforce its laws while demonstrating its commitment to humanitarian values. I also included practical suggestions such as phasing out UNHCR-issued cards and transitioning to government-issued DPP cards to enhance refugee management. Thus, for the conclusion, I reiterated Malaysia's balanced approach, combining compassion with pragmatism, and invited further collaboration with the UNHCR. Finally, I reviewed the note to ensure clarity, coherence, and alignment with diplomatic protocols. Lastly, I concluded my diplomatic note with my name initialed as well as my title as the ambassador, followed by the date. And that's how I make my diplomatic note. So this diplomatic note reflects my understanding of both international relations and the need for a structured, solution-oriented approaching to addressing the refugees' issues, as well as understanding the importance of having a really great diplomacy and networking with international organizations such as UNHCR themselves.
So that's the end of our discussion for today. I hope with this video it will bring a big impact to everyone that's been watching the video and gain knowledge on how to make a diplomatic note. So that's all from me. Thank you.